Wishing you all a very good evening. I'm Protractor Primesh moderating today's session. I would like to warmly welcome you all to this prestigious event organized by the Rotaract Club of University of Peradeniya. As you already know, it has been a while since we successfully completed the beginner level of our project NextStep 360, one of the signature projects organized by the Rotaract Club of University of Peradeniya. So this webinar on personal branding in job industry is yet another valuable milestone of our job seeker avenue. Hope you would grab the best out of this great opportunity. Also, you can send any questions you may have via the Zoom chat. Please direct your questions onto the profiles renamed as questions. Your questions will be answered towards the end of the webinar. Personal branding is the art of becoming knowable, likable, and trustable. To guide you on this, today we have two amazing personalities with us. Joining us today, licensed financial advisor at AIA Insurance Lanka Limited, specialized in IHI, retirement planning, and personal financial auditing, Mr. Asheen Vadasinghe, and certified HR trainer, fashion design and marketing lecturer, corporate coach in professional grooming, Mrs. Ludmila Bopitier. We warmly welcome you both to the NextStep 360 2021. Now the platform is yours to continue the webinar.
Thank you, Pramesh.
Thank you, Pramesh. Thank you very much. So boys and girls, we both are very happy to be here because to be very honest, out of all the universities, we have a very fond place in our heart to the University of Peradeniya, and we have visited only a few times, and we were planning to visit you guys, but then again, you say the COVID monster came in. But I'm really happy that our learning did not stop, right? Even though the COVID pandemic came, many challenges came up, but we did not stop learning. Now this is what it is, because when during these kind of crisis situations, there are some people who go down with the crisis, and there are some people who rise beyond the crisis. So I believe most of you who are here today are those who are determined to rise beyond the crisis. So with that, I want to welcome all of you, and I want to thank the team, the Rotaract team, for inviting the both of us, because this is something that we looked forward to. And Primeshi, thank you for moderating and coordinating with us. So with that, Ludmila, do you want to share anything?
Yeah, I just want to welcome all of you, and we welcome anybody to switch on their video if they want to. We're talking about brands, so if you're confident with who you are, go ahead and show us your face. We would love to see the wonderful students of University of Peradeniya. And I see one gentleman, Shakti Senaratna, has already switched on his video. So very nice to see faces. So I welcome all of you. If you are comfortable, go ahead and switch on your video. And yes, and we welcome you warmly to this session, and I hope that our journey and our experiences will give you some kind of insight, some information and knowledge to craft a brand that will be beneficial for your career and also for your personal life. And with that, for the first half of the session, I hand over to Ashen, and I will be back.
All right. Now, when it comes to a personal brand, there are many people with many definitions. People say, be unique, be yourself, and craft your own brand, and all these wonderful, inspiring things are being told by many people. And you might also have heard instances where some instances where people say, you see, a brand is an evolutionary process. A brand takes time. A brand is a long way to the future. In most instances, it is true. So today, what we want to focus primarily on is personal branding. Like I said, a personal brand is absolutely an asset to you. Now, if you ask, what are the personal brands that you know, right? You will get many answers, and most of those answers, I hope, are positive brand association, because there are instances where we find personal brands with a negative brand association. So today, what we want to tell you children is to how to create a personal brand with positive reinforcements. When people hear your name, when people listens to you, when people associate you, they should have a positive reinforcement about who you are, because your brand plays a bigger role than you imagine. All right. So today, let's dive into certain key areas. We are going to give you a mind map. We are going to give you a sort of a mind map where you, after you learn, you can implement these things. Most of what we are going to share with you are actionable elements. And during the next several minutes, we are going to cover three main areas: the brand anatomy, the brand blueprint, and nurturing your brand. How and what are the things that you can do to nurture your brand? Simply because you guys are going out there to the big world filled with opportunities and filled with uh, things, new innovations. So many possibilities are up ahead. So like I always believe, and like I always say, you guys are the future of our country. So you have a huge responsibility to stay loyal to yourself, stay loyal to your cause, and stay loyal to your vision, right? So with that, our little contribution today, we both believe that it can go a long way. So some of you might have met us, and for anyone who have met us, hello again. We met a few years ago, and to whomever that we didn't meet, my name is Ashin, and Ludmila, who just spoke to you earlier, we are passionate about what we do. I mean, we both are certified corporate trainers, educators. More than the qualification, more than how qualified we are to this particular discipline, we both carry a lot of passion to teaching. And I believe that is a personal brand for us. Our passion that fuels our vision is nurturing, is helping us to grow our personal brand. So we both are educators, and what we try to do is uh, to inculcate certain things that we practice regularly in our lives, not the textbook only stuff, because everyone can share the textbook only knowledge, but most of the time what Ludmila and we try to do is we try to share what we regularly practice. So the underlying reason being, we both are proud Sri Lankans, because we hear a lot of instances where people complain about the country. I know we are a beautiful country, getting even better, right? So despite the hardships that is going on right now, we have to love our country, because if we don't, no one else will. So whenever it is possible, we have to make sure that we put our little effort to build this country to a better future. Because always remember, if you read the history of this country, you will find that we have done some miraculous things in the past. All right. Because if you look at the history, not the Sri Lankan history alone, if you look at the world history, when King Kashyapa was built in Segire, what were the Europeans doing? Right? They didn't have proper sanitary care. They were peeing on themselves, right? They were a primitive species, whereas we were talking about science. We were giving the knowledge of science to the world. So in our DNA, we have that innate ability to make miracles in the world. So I believe we all have a responsibility to make sure that that goodness that we have in our history is taken forward. Ludmila, do you want to add something to this?
Yeah, yes. So, I mean, I'm still not comfortable talking about us, but the thing is, we want you to know who we are, because that is something that teachers and educators should be clear of. And there is a reason why you guys are here. There's a reason why you want to listen to us. And that's why we wanted to position ourselves as uh, givers of knowledge. And that's why we want to just, this is our person. I think this is the first time we are delivering a session as a couple. And this is what we want you to understand. I mean, we truly believe in the potential of our people, and especially our Sri Lankan people. And that's one of the biggest purposes of the things that we do. That's the purpose behind everything that we do. So what we're trying to do here is to inculcate that kind of feeling within you, so that you feel important, that you feel powerful, and you feel confident to go out there into the world, into the real world, away from your academics, and reach the potential that you are given with. So this is what we want to incorporate, and your personal brand is where it starts. Because just like Martin Luther King said, and even in one of Michael Jackson's songs, it is the man or the woman in the mirror that makes all the difference in the world. And what we are trying to do here is to give you a seed, a small thought, and we want to plant that in your mindset, so that the future that is ahead of you will be more fruitful, and you will have less struggles, less challenges than we faced without this knowledge. So that's what we are trying to do, to plant that seed within you, to tell you that you are important, and there is confidence within you, no matter what you look like, no matter what you have done, the mistakes, everything, all of that flaws put together has made who you are. And today what we are trying to do is bring that brand within you, bring that brand outside of you, and show you, tell you, teach you how to position yourself onto the real world. All right. So with that, let's go to the next slide, Ashen, and you can carry on.
Yeah. So what does a brand mean to you now? When we talk about brands, we talk about many top companies, many giant companies, and many companies, many organizations that has impacted positively, sometimes not in a totally positive way, but every brand, the moment you see a brand, there is a story behind, there's a purpose behind any brand. So if I ask you what does a brand mean to you, what is the first thing come to your mind? Just when I say the name brand, I mean, this is something very simple for you to understand. When I say happiness, what is the brand that comes to your mind? When I say innovation, what is the brand that comes to your mind? When I say future, when I say mass, when I say electric cars, what are the brands that comes to your brain, your mind? Now, this is what it is. Even without us knowing, there are certain brands, there are certain things that are plugged into our system where we associate an emotion, we associate a feeling with a particular brand, right? Now, when you ask, okay, why this brand? All right. Now, you would have heard about this Coca-Cola and Pepsi, what you call the rivalry, right? The Coca-Cola and Pepsi rivalry. It's like one of the most one of the nicest wars, friendly wars in the history, because both these brands are producing the same drink, right? A cola drink, Pepsi Cola and Coca-Cola. But the brand association, the story behind these two brands, the feeling that each of these brands are trying to give are different. So that is where Coca-Cola and Pepsi changes the game. Same product, but two different value propositions. Now, why does a brand make you feel how you feel? Because if you ask a person who's using an Apple iPhone, mostly, if you ask them, okay, do you want to go for an Android? Most of the time they would say no, right? But ironically, we know that some of the features that iOS offers has been offered by Android long years ago, right? There are controversies, there are arguments and many debates about it. But as far as I know, as far as I have experienced, anyone who uses an iPhone or an Apple device will possibly not go back to an Android or another device. Same with the other party. Anyone who is fond of Androids will not go to an iPhone or an iOS device, because there is some comfort, there is some faith, there is that trust that this particular device is a part of me, right? Now, this is what it is, my children, because what we have to understand is a brand can make an impact that could go far further away. For instance, Ludmila was a Android user, right? So when we got to know each other, I was an iOS user. So I implanted the iOS germ into her, and I made her get an Apple phone. And ever since, she has become a loyal friend of the iOS mobile, right? Simply because she has an Android device for her work-related matters, but for her personal use, she uses an Apple phone simply because that brand value that I have, I was able to share it with someone close to me, right? So if you look at it now, this particular concept of branding can go a long way for you as well when it comes to you being a job seeker, right? Because you have to understand every time that you portray yourself, every time that you represent yourself, you are representing your brand, right? Your values, your set of values. Because we are slowly now, after you leave the university, you are slowly building up your brand. Now, when you leave the university, you go to a different stage of your life altogether, right? You are an adult, a little more carefree, but right after being a student, now there is a transition, and during this transition there might be instances where you will get confused. I'm not saying that you definitely will, but there might be a position where you might get confused, because it's a total brand transition from a student of a reputed university in the world. Here you are becoming a job seeker. Ludmila, do you want to add something to that?
Yes. Before we go into understanding the anatomy of a brand, guys, I would like to know, I mean, there are about 80 people here. I want to see a raise of hand of students and to the people who are here in the audience who consider themselves a brand. Can I see a raise of hands of the people who consider themselves a brand? Now, when you say a brand, what comes to our head is Coca-Cola, Gucci, Christian Dior, Levi's, Toyota, BMW, all of these things. These are brands, and each brand has its own characteristics. If you take BMW, it's strong, it's bold, it's macho, right? And if you take Mercedes, it's elite, it's luxury, and all of that. So just like that, can I see a raise of hands? Yes. Very good. There are a couple of people who consider themselves a brand, and which is a good thing. So what about the others? How about the other ladies and gentlemen in that? You don't consider yourself a brand? You don't? Okay. Now can I see a raise of hands of people who are on social media, whether it is Facebook, Instagram, or that God-forsaken app, TikTok? Can I see who is on TikTok? Who spends time watching other people dance to sleep? Huh? Yeah? Sahan is smiling, which means Sahan is actually watching these girls dancing before they go to sleep. And yeah, so I think all of you agree. So if you have put yourself out there in any of these platforms, You are a brand, guys. Okay, you are a brand. You have a platform where people see you, whether it is LinkedIn, whether it is Facebook, it doesn't matter. All of us in this digital age is a personal brand, and we have to take much care to protect that brand, to nurture that brand, and to take it forward. And that is the whole point of our session today. What we're trying to incorporate into your thinking patterns and into your habits is that all of you are a brand, and everything that you put out there, the way you go out, the way you speak to people, the things that you share on these social media platforms, all of that compiled has created the brand that is currently yours. We don't know you personally, but your friends know you guys, right? So whatever that is out there, what if you have posted all these breakup songs on Facebook, right? Mage papuwa palagena mama maranawa, right? Mata inna bahaya නැතුව මට නින්දක් නැහැ මගේ ජීවිතේ ඉවරයි, all of that, right? You're giving a message out to the world showing that, oh my god, I mean, I have seen girls crying and posting on TikTok, right? I don't know what that is going to do to their personal brand, but remember, everything that you share, right, will make or break your brand, right? So what we're trying to do is find out the anatomy, looking at the great brands out there in the world, like McDonald's, like KFC, all of these great brands, they have their value propositions, they have their own characteristics. And us as the new digital age personalities, we have to look at these brands. We have to identify and analyze what they are doing good, what they are doing better than their competitors, and then understand who you are and incorporate it into your life, right? If you take KFC and McDonald's, they're quite bold, right? Their advertising is bold. So if I ask yourself, are you a, what is the submarine kade? What is it called? Subway. Yes. Yeah. Are you a Subway? Are you a McDonald's? Are you a teddy bear? Are you a Barbie doll? All right. Are you Coca-Cola or are you Pepsi? Or are you Coca-Cola? Are you Sprite? Right. So we can learn a lot from these brands out there. And that's what we're trying to do, because they are making us feel something about it. I mean, when we see a fried rice, we think of Coca-Cola, right? EGD also tried to do it. When we have that devil chicken and all of that, you need it. So they've made us feel that they need us. How do we do that with ourselves? How do we make ourselves important in the corporate world? How do we become hard to replace? We are all replaceable, guys. That you have to keep in mind. It's a life lesson, a good life lesson. Apart from your mother and your father, you are replaceable, right? Anyone can be replaced in this life apart from your mother and father. This is my personal opinion. I don't know if that is your opinion, but this is my personal opinion. You can replace most of the people, but I think not the mother and child or the father and child relationship. So what we have to strive to do is to be so important, so serving to wherever that we go to work, and be hard to replace. These are the people who leads the show. These are the people who easily goes up that corporate ladder. So that's what we are trying to pinpoint you through this session, so that in the future, in the next decade, you will be some of the most monumental people in the corporate world, and very difficult to substitute. Okay? Yes, Asha, go ahead.
Yes. So when it comes to a brand, when it comes to any kind of a brand, there are 4 main pillars that builds the anatomy of a brand. For instance, if you take a look at it, you try to ask yourself, if you want to go to a doctor, right? And if the doctor says, you know, I'm a freelance doctor, but I know all the things, I know what to do, would you want to consult that doctor? Not really, right? So when it comes to your identity as a brand, are you going to portray yourself as an expert or someone who, you know, want to try a little bit of everything and not really an expert of anything, right? So try to understand, you can be an expert of many things, but always try to master something that stands as your identity. And when it comes to your brand, what kind of a meaning are you trying to portray? Now, if you take Apple, do you position it as an athletic kind of a brand? But on the other side, if you take another brand like Nike, they are not in the luxurious category, but they are more into a lifestyle, athletic kind of a meaning to the brand association that they position. And when it comes to the feeling, what kind of a feeling are you as a brand? Are you the person who someone can rest assured that you will get something done? Now, we all know when it comes to group assignments, පෙරහැර යන අලියත් ඉන්නවා, right? බරාදින අලියත් ඉන්නවා, right? Now, these are popular brands. Now, even to date, I have few friends that I know, and personal experience. Even to date, they have that reputation being the පෙරහැර යන අලිය. When all of us do the work, there are few people who tries to get highlighted. Now, that kind of a reputation, that kind of a brand, people necessarily don't appreciate, right? So what kind of a feeling does your brand give to the people who associate you? And the resemblance, like I said, when it comes to December, when it comes to a cold fizzy drink, most of us talks about this 375 ml little glass bottle, because there's a history behind it, there are moments behind it, and it resembles joy. So when it comes to you, are you a person who resembles joy, who resembles confidence, who resembles hope, innovation? Now, do you see these 4 pillars are able to create a very strong brand, but not at the same time? Now, why we said that you have to start grooming your brand from now itself is that you are moving in, you're stepping in, you're checking into the corporate sector, right? Even though you would have made certain mistakes in the past as a young adult or a young child, now you have a new beginning up ahead. So whatever you do from here onwards will reflect on your brand in the future. So try to figure out what kind of an identity or a meaning and a feeling also the resemblance of your brand brings to you, right? So who is your brand? Now, again, we are trying to see a very small message in your heart, my children. We have to understand we all should thrive to add value, because there's a misconception where people make an effort to exchange time for money. Now, the moment you try to exchange time for money, you will run out of time, right? But if you are inspired or motivated to exchange what? Value for money, now people would want to buy value. People might not want to buy time unless it's one of those life or death situation, but people always would want to buy value. Now ask yourself, wouldn't you want to spend a little extra and get a good pair of shoes, right? Wouldn't you want to spend a little extra and get a very good fitting quality pair of jeans? Do you see? This is what it is. Now, when it comes to your brand, who is your brand is a very good question to start from. What kind of a value are you trying to add? You see, you don't have to look for a long run. I mean, you don't have to look several years ahead of you, but try to understand right now, right? Try to understand right now, what kind of a value do you want to add, right? What kind of a value do you want to add as a person, not as a brand, but as a person? Like Ludmila asked you, we all are now brands out there on the internet, because if you go to Facebook, Instagram, whatever you share is an inventory of what your brand has been doing in the past. Now, if you go to a website of or a Facebook page or an Instagram page of a company, you go down their timeline, you will see what they are up to. Now, isn't that the same with you? who are you and what you are up to represents your brand. And when you are doing something, we have to understand many people are trying to do the same thing. You take for an example, Pick Me. Now, Pick Me, Uber, Vino, UCab, all these service providers are there. But some of you might be Uber people, some of you might be Pick Me people. Now, what is that particular element that makes you stick to that particular brand? Now, personally, I would say I'm more of a Pick Me person, right? It's a local brand. And even though sometimes there aren't any cabs or tuk-tuks, I might decide to wait a little longer because of some brand loyalty that I have towards Pick Me, right? And what is different that they are doing is, you see, we all can replicate something, right? Now, for instance, I get many inquiries about, sometimes I share the slideshow that I display with my students, and some instances, some people ask me, okay, don't you think someone will steal your presentation and recreate your content? Even if they do, it's not my content, it's my delivery that adds value, right? So always try to understand, even if you're speaking, if you're a compere, try to see what is differently unique about you, and where and how you are seen is, you see, we have to understand. අර සිංහල කතාවක් තියෙනවා, තමුන්ගේ හොරණෑව තමුන්ගේ හොය නැත්නම් අනුන් එක පඩික්කමට ගන්නවා කියලා, right? So what you have to understand is, if you have some hidden talents, if you have some unique talents, try to be brave and bold to embrace it. Because as Sri Lankans, we are mostly looked down upon or frowned upon the unique talents that we have. If you are able to draw, one of the biggest questions that adults would ask you is, චිත්‍රය ඇඳලා ජීවත් වෙන්න පුළුවන්ද? Right? Musician, සින්දු ගහලා ජීවත් වෙන්න පුළුවන්ද? At a very young age, right? And what happens there is, you lose hope. You're like, ඇත්ත නේද? I mean, your parents are telling, your aunts and uncles, our relatives are telling you, so you might actually let go of your unique talent. Now, this is a good time for you to try to figure out what is so unique about you, what is that unique element in your brand, and whatever that uniqueness that is in you, are you showing it off? Are you trying to put it out there and so that people can see? I'm not only talking about websites, I'm talking about your participation, your association. Are you having a system of a network that knows what you are able to do? Now, if you have a unique talent and people know about it, now that is where people are going to refer to you for your abilities. Because when you find your unique selling proposition, a key factor, a key outcome is you are creating your own personal brand, right? The moment you identify your unique selling proposition, your USP, you are giving birth to your personal brand. And that consequently will help you to nurture your brand over time. So, Dupila?
Yes, Ashin. So, like he said, I mean, the learning point that all of you should take from this is, we all have a USP. It's just that we don't know what it is, right? We are given so many talents, we are given so many skills, we just don't know what our unique selling proposition is, because all of us are going out there with a common degree, with the same kind of, educational background, but who gets the front seat depends on your ability to analyze and decide what your USP is. So what's the point of just us talking about the unique selling proposition? How do we find it, right? So let me tell you how I found my unique selling proposition, because it's a lifelong journey. It changes every half a decade or every year it would change. So that's why you have to keep a check-in with yourself and realize, okay, am I in the path that I have laid out for myself? If not, go back, analyze, and realign. All right? Understanding who you are, what you want in life, and what you believe in is your own task. Teachers will come and tell you, do this, do this, do that. Your family will say certain things, but what you want out of this life, what you want to achieve in this life is all up to you. So make time to go to yourself, go to your core and ask yourself what you really want. Explore yourself every year. Don't wait till the end of the year. Even if you want to do it tonight, just explore what you want. Because guys, we can say, okay, dress nicely, go speak nicely, and sit properly, and you will get a job. No, if you don't understand your core values and your philosophy, all the challenges that comes your way will cripple you, because you're in your early 20s or your mid 20s. Life is going to give you many challenges. Life is going to, put you in a roller coaster and turn you upside down. And when that happens, when you are in check with who you are and your values and your philosophy, it is very easy to get back on track and go the path that we want to, right? So keep on analyzing, keep on understanding who you are. Who is Shakti? Who is Primeshi? Who is Sanduni? Who is Sahan? Who is Dilaka? Who are you is your role, okay? Your mother, your father cannot define who you are. So analyze, keep analyzing. If you want to do it daily, do it daily. That's fine, right? Just understand who you are. That is the core of building a brand for yourself. All right. And the second one is, this I learned from my father. When we want to learn something, we have accumulated a certain level of knowledge in certain level of our age, right? I mean, we have been accumulating knowledge since our birth. But when we want to learn something new, when we want to explore, we have to unlearn all of that, because sometimes what we get from the school system, from our very strict academic background, will narrow us down, will put us into a frame where we cannot think beyond. So what my father advised me is, whenever you are stepping into a new chapter in life, whenever you are going to study a brand new thing, whenever you are listening to a session like this, empty your vessel, right? What do you call, a glass that is full will overflow. It will spill. It will not gather the knowledge. It will not gather the experience. So unlearn, relearn, and just be willing to unlearn what you have learned before. That is the starting step of crafting a brand. Because if you keep on sticking to the belief systems, the stereotypes, what your father said, what your family said, if you keep on believing in the stereotypes that other people have put on yourself, you will not really know who you are, right? This starts from religion. I choose not to speak about religion or race, but the thing is, these are all of the things that we were brought up with. And if you want to build an independent thinking pattern, an independent identity, you will have to remove all of that. It's going to be very difficult. You cannot completely remove it, right? I mean, there are certain things that are ingrained and it is in our DNA, in a system, but we have a mind that can look beyond the genetic memory, right? We might think, we are lesser than other nations. We are lesser than this because centuries of colonization, centuries of people being controlling us have made us more, submissive. But if we analyze that, and if we unlearn and look at ourselves in a new light, we will see beyond our genetic memory. So always be willing to unlearn what you have learned and then absorb the knowledge. That way, you will be able to get closer to finding your unique selling proposition, who you are, what is that uniqueness that you're putting out into the world. And the third step that you can do is to commit, right? Sometimes we have so many options in life, right? And that also makes us paralyzed. So when you decide on something, choose wisely, right? Live with it. Try to adjust it. And if it doesn't work, then you can move on to the next step. But always when you choose to live it as well. Because if you don't live it, I mean, we live in a very instantaneous life, right? We live in an instantaneous time in this life. Nobody writes a love letter anymore, right? You start from text, you end from text. There's nothing, I mean, there's no connection at all, right? But when you pick, let's say I'm taking an example a love affair. If you pick somebody, okay, I'm going to love this boy, right? Choose wisely. Right? Find someone who aligns with your value system, right? Choose and live with it. Love the bugger, love the person, just go ahead. And if there are things that you need to adjust it, right? Adjust it and move on. But sometimes in life, we cannot continue to go ahead that way. You have to understand, okay, this is a failure. I got to move on to the next step, right? But committing to what you choose to live with is a very important step. Most of the time, why we don't find our skills or find our expertise is because we do not commit, right? It takes time to find mastery. It takes time. So if you want to find your USP, do these three things. Take yourself as a lab rat, like a guinea pig. Life is your laboratory and you're just experiencing and experimenting on you, right? Before you experiment on your children, realize who you are, right? We want to build a better nation. We want to build a better generation. And that happens by changing the person who you are and adjusting it to the new value system that you want to incorporate, right? So this is some of the ways that we use to find our USP. Ashan, can you go to the next slide, please? Yes. So, and here we are discussing about, and with that we move on to 4 elements of what your brand blueprint is like. A blueprint is something, a sketch, right? That's where you start. When you design a dress, you sketch it off, and then that is your blueprint. And looking at that, you go and find fabric, and then you go and find a seamstress and get it done. Just like you do it for a house. You do a sketch, you work with your drafter, and then you find the contractors and build your house. So for us, for our personal brand also, we need to have a blueprint. And in that blueprint, we have found 4 elements, 4 areas that we want to focus on, that we want to share with you, so that in the future, when you're analyzing and recreating your brand, it will be easy for you, because we as human beings are very complicated creatures. So I believe in simplifying everything, right? Whatever you say, whatever you teach, even a 5-year-old should understand, because life has to be simple for it to be joyful. So let's simplify it and look at these 4 elements that builds who you are, okay? And Ashan will be discussing about your perception and your reality, while I will be discussing about your character and your aspiration. Ashan?
Yeah. So when it comes to the animal kingdom, we know that we are also a species in the animal kingdom, and we speak about the human being the most intelligent or capable human. And there's a beautiful premise to this entire logic, I would say, because if you really look at it, the human being is the only animal who requires help of another at birth. Have you seen the birth of an elephant? Have you seen a birth of a giraffe? Because I was in the Young Zoologists Association several years ago, and I have seen videos, I have seen instances, live experiences where when an animal gives birth to a newborn, immediately within few minutes, the newborn is able to get on its feet and move with the least amount of help. But if you look at the human being, for many, many years, I mean, not many, many years, but for several years at the beginning, we are dependent on many people around us. So all the while we are depending on our parents, maybe our older siblings, maybe, what we are trying to create is a perception about who you are and what you can do, right? If you are always helped by an adult, unconsciously, without you even knowing, you might realize, I always need help from another person, right? I always have to depend on another person. Now that might become your perception. So over time, when you become an adult, when you get into a marriage, you might find instances where you depend on certain people and they disappoint you. And then you might start to believe that, it's my fault, right? Rather than understanding what the reality is, you might start blaming yourself. So over time, if you continue to blame yourself, that perception creates a certain reality, a reality in you where you will end up thinking that everyone is going to disappoint me. Everyone is here to let me down, right? Now, these kind of perceptions might be there in your life as well. So these perceptions actually create a reality even without you knowing. Now, how you have to realize this perception is you have to figure out who you are at this moment, the man or the girl or the boy in the mirror, who you are as a person at this moment. Because you have to understand how you see yourself can greatly be the way that other people see you to a great extent. If you are a person who is always complaining, other people will get that vibe of you being a little bit pessimistic, right? Now, as a personality, as a person, are you a person who is energetic or contemplative? I didn't want to say lethargic or energetic, but there are some instances where we find people who says පුඩක් ඉන්නවා ඔඩ හිතන්න ඕනේ මේ මං ඇස්සාගෙන හිටියේ මේ නිදාගෙන නෙමෙයි මම ඇස්සාගෙන හිටියේ හිතන්න, right? Now there are people who are energetic who gets stuff done, right? There are people who just with a matter of minutes, with a matter of hours, they are able to get things done and they are highlighted. But also these contemplative people are also highlighted, not in a good shade though. Now, as a person, as your personality, what kind of a personality do you think you are? Now, here, be brutally honest. Don't hold anything back. Just ask yourself, are you a contemplative person or an energetic person? Now, here, what you have to realize is, just like any form of energy, I mean, even if you take an athlete, even if you take a rocket, right? There are instances where we get that entire illuminating boost. We get things done, we finish tasks, we meet deadlines, and there are some days where you're like bored to death, right? There's nothing to do. Facebook is boring, Instagram is boring, YouTube doesn't have any videos, right? There's no food to eat in a restaurant, McDonald's is bleh, right? So many things, many problems comes to you, but there are some instances where you're all energetic and optimized. Now, these are like seasons, right? These are like seasons. There are some seasons in your timeline where you are all in, where you're fully motivated. But there are some instances where you need to take a step back to relax and reflect. Because if you don't give that time of an interval, you might burn out and you might not really perform. But even though there are seasons like that, there are people who you can categorize as energetic or contemplative, depending on what kind of a work ethic that they have. Work ethic. Now, that's a very important part for anyone who is aspiring to be a great professional in the future. When it comes to work ethic, you have to realize how best you can do what you do. If you are pursuing a career in whatever the form, for instance, if it is a doctor, just imagine if you are a doctor, if you have a doctor and the doctor will, you will go to the doctor, pay to the counter, get the appointment, go and meet the doctor and come back, and that's it. You come back home. But just imagine, same doctor, same sickness, you go to another doctor, and this doctor, after 2 or 3 days from the hospital, we are just following up on how you are. Is everything okay? Did the medicine work? And you feel really special because your doctor, unlike the first doctor, made you an important part of that process. Now, are you a person who has a work ethic, where you add value, where you go beyond your comfort zone to help someone. Ludi, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I do, because when you're talking about the current perception, guys, see, if you move away from this corporate job seeker mentality, if you come and look at yourself, see, how many of us have insecurities? This is what this is what I want you to think about when it comes to perception, your current perception. You may be one of the brightest students in your family. You are the only person who got selected to a state university from your entire family. But in the privacy of your room or yourself, you consider yourself ugly. Your teeth is crooked. You're fat. Your butt is too big. Your chest is too big, right? And your smile, your hair is too thin. All of these insecurities are going to multiply and have a ripple effect on your professional personality as well.
It's a compound effect. It's a compound effect.
It's a compound effect. So just because you have, for you to create an outward persona, like a professional persona, you have to inside, I say there are two levels, right? You are a surface dweller. When you are a surface dweller, you go to the work, you go there and you present yourself in this amazing way. But inside you're breaking down, and inside you're not happy with who you are. You're blaming yourself. You're not, you're not confident about who you are. When all of these flaws are magnifying in your private life, it will have a very negative effect in your professional personality as well. So whether it is the way you look, whether it is the mistakes that you have done, whether it is the regrets that you have, you need to sit down with yourself and analyze all of this, because it is definitely going to have an impact on your professional personality as well. Because that's who we are, right? If your inside is not good, this is why we say, when you go into an interview, you have to make sure you wear proper lingerie, proper underwears. You don't wear very vest. You don't wear iricha socks. Because if you do that, when you go out into the interview, oh my God, I can't bend because, vest ke hilak, right? Oh my God, my panty is coming off because elastic has gone. Right? What you put inside matters. So this is why we want you to sit and analyze who you are. What is your perception about yourself? And if you have so many things that you want to work on, write it down and, work on it. Because your current perception, only you know, right? The person who is standing in front of the mirror, only you know. So take into consideration what you blame yourself for, and then think about creating, a better perception for your future. Yes, Ashin.
So another thing that we both believe is that everything that you do should have some kind of a philosophy. Maybe not everything, but most of the things should have some kind of a philosophy, simply because, it's very important it is very important what you do and why you do it. If you want to fall in love with someone, if you're trying to date someone, right? Why are you trying to get into that relationship? So everything should have some kind of a philosophy, and that is where you should realize, okay, what kind of a purpose do I have becoming this particular person I want to be, right? If you want to be a really good doctor, okay, how far are you willing to go? If you're planning to be a great corporate leader, how far are you willing to go with your sacrifices, right? What kind of pains are you willing to withstand, right? So this is a very good question that you can ask. What are the challenges I'm willing to go through, right? So if you have a great purpose, a great philosophy behind your vision, now that is some place that can pull you from the dark moments in your life, because you have a strong purpose and a great vision to pull you to the future. Whereas, like Ludmila said, some insecurities might actually bring us to the past. If you have insecurities, it might bring us to the past. But if you have a strong vision and a purpose, it would, not that it might, it will certainly pull you to the future. And proficiency. Proficiency is very important, my children, because the day you stop learning is the day you actually die, right? Because we have to realize everything is evolving, everything is going forward, novelty, opportunity, everything is moving positively to the future, right? Amidst all those who complain about what is going wrong, the world is moving forward, right? So your responsibility is to become really good at what you do by acquiring the new updated knowledge. Because if someone asks you something about the latest update, you should be able to speak about it, because a professional, right? Again, the doctor's example, if the doctor is someone who is updated and upgraded with the modern technology, now that is the person you want to go to, right? If it is a person, now we have a personal experience where we had a dentist, and this dentist was the family dentist from long years ago. And even to date, he's using the long years ago tools. But because the family knew, we wanted to go to that person because there was a sense of trust. But at one point, we decided, no, we are not going to go to that doctor. We are going to try a different dentist. When we tried the new dentist, now that was a aha moment. Latest technology, latest tools, latest comfortable seats, everything. Now, even though the new one is a little, not little, quite expensive, still we found it very comfortable for us, because the proficiency is beyond the standards. So every time you are trying to groom your brand, try your level best to be an expert in your domain, right? Ludmila, do you have anything to say?
No, we can go. The reality. Okay. So, so when you look at your perception and then you compare your reality, certain things come into realization, because I mean, sometimes you might think you're fat, but you're not, right? You ask people around you, they might say, no, we love the fact that you have a curvy body. We love the fact that, you know, you have a beautiful smile. We love the fact that you have long hair. So, you know, your reality might be quite different to the perception that you have of yourself. All right. So how you can deal with your reality is that you have to be honest with yourself. You have to, you know, you have to, like I said, you have to go in front of the mirror and ask yourself, okay, let's be honest. Why do I hate myself? Is it because of someone said this? Is it because last night I put up a story asking, what is the most hurtful thing that anyone has ever told you? And many people responded to me saying, some people called me fat. Some people called me unworthy. Some people call me that I'm stupid. Some people call me that I'm so stupid that you must be having a tumor in your brain, right? So lots of things are the cause for our insecurity. So be honest with yourself and ask yourself, am I this person? Is it because I've created my own flaws, or is it because somebody, you know, said something nasty to me? So be honest with yourself. Whatever, like the mistakes that you have done, the regrets that you have, be honest with yourself, right? Be clear. And then accept all of that. Accept all the things that you have gone through, that you have done, and then forgive, right? This is how you deal with reality. Because if you don't forgive yourself, you cannot move forward, right? I mean, you might have posted nonsense on your social media platforms. It's okay. Be honest. Tell yourself, yes, I was dumb. I have done that. I have personally posted, you know, ungodly things. And thank God, I mean, Facebook keeps reminding me how stupid I was 10 years ago, right? And every time I see that, I want to, you know, dig a hole and but it reminds you who you were 10 years ago, right? But you're not that person. So you have to accept it and move on. I mean, what you are in your 20s is not what you're going to be in your 30s. So just forgive yourself, and move on. And that's how you deal with your reality. So we looked at the perception, looked at the reality. So this is a continuous process that you will have to do with yourself in order to craft your brand. I should go to the next slide, please. And the other element, remember, perception, reality, character, and what's the other one? Aspiration. So we're talking about the character now. This is something I wanted to speak about because as girls, we have a character, especially as girls in a culture like this, we have a character to live up to. Okay. Now we know that there is feminism, there's equality, everything is out there, right? And yesterday, not yesterday. So, there are things that you cannot do in the social media world, isn't it? Now you will watch TikTok. But will Piyumini go and wear a tiny micro mini short and dance to Ek Baar and post it on TikTok? Nani, harida api Ek Baar eka balanama. We have fun, right? We might do it in front of our mirror or in the bathroom, but we will never do Ek Baar song and post it on TikTok, right? Because that is the worst thing that you can do to University of Peradeniya. Okay? Don't do that. Right, unless you are on that path to become an influencer or whoever that you want to be, right? So your character is what people perceive about who you are. It's who you are when you're not in front of those people, right? Sometimes this might not align with who you truly are. Now I know friends who are very bold, very forward, and they are they're very open-minded girls, right? Even I am like that. We talk to boys, we say nice things, we smile, we are very friendly. Now, just because we are friendly, do you think the guys think that we are being friendly, right? No. Ammata siri, mara fast ne, mara ya, mage passeng. That's what sometimes they perceive, right? So we have to be quite, this applies to boys as well, okay? Not just girls. I think now girls are more, much better because I think guys get hurt more than boys, I think. Do you agree, guys? Boys? Are girls?
Guys get hurt more than girls.
Guys get, are girls bad? Are they hurting y'all more than you guys hurt us? Can we see a raise of hands of the boys who have gotten hurt? Right? So I think it's equal. It's equal. Back in the day, you can say guys were bad, they were cheating and all of that. Not anymore. Now I think girls are more mean, right? Both our kinds are mean. So remember, our character is what other people think of us, right? And this also creates, now there's this new thought pattern. We should not care about what other people say. We should not do this. I don't care about what others think. No, we do, right? Do you want to be a disrespectful daughter or a disrespectful son to your family? If we were in another country, if we were in another culture, maybe, things have changed. I have not lived that. But here, we do have to take into consideration our upbringing, our school. If I go out there and go to a street club and do something, it's going to reflect on my career, on my husband, on my school, on my family, on my friends. It's going to reflect on my entire ecosystem, right? So think about you. How do you know what your character is? What you can do is you can actually talk to people. Why I said create a mastermind group. You have your best friends. You have the people that you most associate with. Ask them, am I doing, what do I mean to you, right? So I have asked this from my friends and they always say, Ludi, you're like the center of the party. Without you, I say funny things. I'm bold. I will go and, say something. I do dares all the time. So I'm like the sparkle. And then there's like the most sensible person. I have my five best friends, and there's the most sensible person who doesn't take a drink, who's very holy. She takes care of us. She makes sure that we walk the line. So you have to have a mastermind of people so that you can ask them, okay, I mean, who am I to you, right? What do people think about myself out there? So like I said, sometimes in our culture, when a girl is quite forward, when a girl is quite open-minded, and then she says, I don't want to get married, right? I don't want to have children. Then people have this, we should not. So they have that perception, right? That's the character that you're putting out there. So if that's what you want to do, then you can share your opinions. But if you want to have a more balanced approach to life, because remember, when you go into a workplace, there's a lot of diversity, right? A lot of diversity. People from all walks of life comes to work with you. And if you are quite opinionated, you're going to create a character that your actual self cannot align with. Okay, this happens, especially it happens in the fashion world, right? I mean, in my own personal experience, I joined a particular organization, and all the people who were there, they were talking in bad words, right? They were addressing each other in very disrespectful manner, right? It was very new to me because I come from a convent race background, right? They were using all the slang and the swear words, and it was a normal thing. It's like, it's fashion, and they go partying, they go clubbing and all of that. I mean, I can't do that. My father was extremely strict, and I was not allowed to stay out after 8 o'clock. So, but what happened was, I thought, okay, I have to move on, get along with these people. I need to, get my job going. I need to see. For a short period of time, I put aside my values, my upbringing, my philosophy, and I tried to blend in, right? And that was the worst mistake of my life, right? Because sometimes you blend into the wrong set of people, to the wrong set of culture, and that actually, if you don't realize it, it will ruin your brand. It will ruin your character, right? This happens to boys and this happens to girls, right? With who you associate. So be very careful of your character, what you put out there, what you say out in the public, what kind of things that you associate yourself with will build or break your character. And remember, people will always remember you from the way you make them feel, not from what you do, not from what you say, right? Sometimes from what you do. They say, right? But just make sure that you make them feel a certain way. That way, they will always remember you, especially in workplaces. When you're working with a boss, when you're working with your peers, if you keep on backstabbing them, if you keep on gossiping about them, if you keep on bitching about them on the side, you're going to create a character that is not really good, right? They will not trust you. And it has a ripple effect. I mean, what people think about you will definitely benefit you in the long run, right? So we have to be yes.
Yes, I want to add a little bit of thought to that now.
Yes.
What we have to realize is, children, we will, like Ludi said, we will meet a variety of people, and some people you don't even know of that are out there, right? From the university background, you are used to a certain set of people, and when you go to the corporate world, you will find people who are not in the familiar aspect, and you might find people who are in the familiar aspect, right? At the same time, what you have to realize is, now even in Buddhism, right? So you have to be in the mud to nurture, right? Just because people, I mean, I have made this mistake in my life where if I don't like certain people, I would remove them, right? If I don't get along, if they use filth and slang when they talk, I would remove myself from them. But the thing is, it's a disadvantage to us. You should be able to move along with these people, and at the same time keep your value system in your head, right? You have to keep your value system above your head, because අර බෙල්ලෙන් පල්ලෙහාට හරි ගිලුණත් value system එක ගිලෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right? So you have to keep in mind, if you are going out to a corporate world out there, you should be able to handle the negatives, the criticisms, and the mud at the same time, remembering that you have to remain like a lotus, right? මඩේ හැදුනට මඩ ගෑවෙන්නේ නැති විදිහට ඉන්න try කරන්න. Let it go on.
Yes. So be vigilant about your character. It will change, it will evolve, but always keep in mind your character is what other people perceive about you. So make sure that you take that also into consideration, especially girls, because I mean, I know I shouldn't say that, but it really matters when you choose a partner in the future. It will really have an effect on your character. I mean, for boys, I feel like it's a little easy because we know okay, they're boys, we forgive. But when a girl makes a big mistake, it's gonna have a very powerful impact on them. And I think many years ago, I think in 2006 or 7, I remember seeing a picture of a certain celebrity in Sri Lanka, not an actress. She was quite young, very young at the moment, but there was a leaked photograph or a video, and even to date, it has that impact on that person. So please be very vigilant about what you speak about, what you put out there, because we live in a digital age and our reputations are at stake, right? And anything could happen. So be very careful. I must say to all the girls, when you have affairs, when you have relationships, please be extremely cautious of whom you associate with, okay? So I mean, it's not about distrusting or mistrusting that person. It's about your philosophy. It's about your principle, okay? So be very careful and don't end up in a bad place because it's very difficult to come out of that place. So I mean,
and even if you end up in a bad place, just remember that you can bounce back. It might take time, it might take some extra effort, but don't think a mistake is the end of the game, right?
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Mistake,
so just prevention is better.
Prevention is better, but also have hope that you can cure it, okay?
Okay, right. So let's go to the next slide. So we've discussed about your 3 elements of our blueprint, which is perception, reality, and your character. And the last element of our brand blueprint is your aspirations. And this is the best quote I can put. I mean, that song from Senaka Batagoda Hina Valata Panakti, listen to it. It tells you are in control of everything that you want in your life, right? You can, not just Hina Valata Panak, there's another one, Hadalanna Asagamana from Vayo. Those 2 songs, they're very impactful because we are Sinhalese people. I mean, I'm sure there are other races also, but just listen to it. It just gives you a very good message, because Agiya Maga Yayututana Danne Thamamai. Like I said at the beginning, right? We are just teachers. We are just inspirations passing by. But what you want to do with your life is all up to you. And that also defines your personal brand. Because if somebody asks you, what do you want to do with your life? What are your aspirations? It defines who you are. Okay. If somebody asks me, okay, Ludmila, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? But what kind of aspirations do you have? I'm going to say, I want to own a bookshop, right? I want to have a bookstore. And then I want to become a lawyer before I turn 40, right? These are my aspirations, and it defines who I am, right? And I want to, own a nice colonial house and decorate it. That's my aspiration, right? And I want to drive a Range Rover, which I will not buy, which I'm going to buy off from Ashen. I mean, I'm the wife. I should get it, right? You guys agree, Why should I spend on it? So he has to get me that, right? I mean, these are my aspirations, and it defines who I am, right? It gives you a sense of who Ludmila Bopiji is. So just like that, believe in your aspirations, have it, talk about it. Many people are afraid to talk about their dreams because they think that people will laugh at them. Who cares, right? If
now,
you
that
want,
is something that, yes, just to barge in, Ludmila, that's something that you can be careless and tell who cares. Because if someone is trying, just to add a little bit to that, when it comes to a value system about what we do, you can't necessarily be in the position of who cares, I'm doing what I want. But when it comes to your aspirations, if you want to if you want to be a part of the Mars project, now that is an aspiration, right? That is what drives you. I mean, you might set aside all your goals and qualifications and degrees, and you might want to go for that project, right? That is your aspiration. So at that point, when you are realizing your aspiration, now that is okay for you to think, okay, I don't care what anyone else thinks, I'm going to live to my fullest, right? Because it's a I will assure you, I will attest to this. When you are trying to expand yourself, not only from you but from the people around you, you will get a lot of resistance. Now there's a beautiful story to this, because when it comes to there's this sea creature, right? A lobster. So when it comes to the lobster, the inner part of the lobster is a blob of meat. So the outer shell is what protects this blob of meat. So over time, when the lobster is growing, it's very tough for the lobster to retain inside that shell. So the lobster has to take a risk of being vulnerable and putting away the shell and being like naked, because there is the risk of predators, whatever that is, there is a risk. But the lobster has to take that risk to go to a bigger shell, because if it decides to stay in the old shell, it will not grow. So similarly, there are some instances where you have to take some naked risks, not literally get naked, but some naked risks that might put you into a position where other people will right? What demotivate කරන්න එන්න තාත්වික risks ගන්න වෙයි, but still that will help you to grow. The moment you go to that bigger shell, it gives you more space to grow. Really, go on.
Yeah, so that's I think in my opinion, that's what creates your blueprint, right? If you one day, I mean, if you are a passionate if you are passionate about personal development, and if you want to develop your brand before you go out into the corporate world, think about these 4 elements. What are your perceptions currently? What do you think about yourself? And what is your actual reality, right? And do a check-in with the people around you and understand what your character is out there with your school friends, with your family. Sometimes those two can change, right? At home, you might be the worst person on earth, right? You might get angry, you might be very, stubborn, but outside for your friends, you might be the best friend of the world, right? Do a check-in with your character. And last but not least, think about the aspirations, stick to it, because we are defined by the dreams and the goals and the journey that we want to have in our life. And that makes people interesting. When you go out there, I don't think now interviewers will ask you, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I mean, we are trying to go until January without Corona hitting us again, right? I don't think they will ask you, where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years? But they will ask you, what do you aspire to be, right? What kind of things do you want to, experience in this journey of life? So remember, your aspirations will give you a very good unique selling proposition, will give you a very good definition of who you are as a personal brand, okay? And this will also attract many new people into your life who would want to be interested. Now, I have friends who are authors. I mean, I love to be around that person. One of my friends, Aisha, she wrote a book, and that was her aspiration. She wanted to become a published author. And it's such an amazing experience to see she thriving in it and she achieving in it. I mean, I feel so proud and humbled and, so happy for her achievements, right? So when you have good aspirations and when you achieve them, you gather good people around you, because at the end of the day, your personal brand cannot sustain alone. You need to have a network, and for you to attract the right network, you need proper people around you, because your network is your network. All right. So with that,
yeah, if you take Coca-Cola, I mean, just because they manufacture a tasty fizzy drinks, if they don't have the Sillar Badu Kada and the supermarkets, they can't do much, right? They can't do anything. So just like Ludi said, your surroundings, the people who surrounds you will add value to you, and you should be in a place where you can add value to them, because it's reciprocity. You scratch my back, I scratch your back kind of a philosophy, or you can say givers gain, right? So if you have something to give, you will always gain in return, right? So
let's go to the next slide.
Yes.
Right. So we come to the most favorite part where my fashion education will help you guys now, right? How we can nurture our brand, right? So when you take your brand, I will take the three most important elements. That is your cover, your habits, and the way you speak, right? The way you communicate with the world, not just public speaking, but the way you communicate with each other. So we are told that cover doesn't matter. You should not judge a book by its cover. Can we go to the next slide, Ashin? Right? They always say we should never judge a book by its cover. But that's the exact same thing I have done for all my life, right? Because I am also coming from the fashion industry. It's all about the cover. It's $1 billion industry. Why is it important? Is because cover matters, right? What you wear, how you present yourself matters. Would you like to kiss a boy who stinks, who has not brushed his teeth? Would you? ආදරේ කියලා දත් මැදපු නැති ගඳ කොල්ලෙක්ව කිස් කරනවද? නෑනේ. නැහැ. කරන්නේ නැහැ, right? So we will always first, I mean, if you take a guy, කෙල්ලෙක් දැකපු ගමන් ආනේ, what a beautiful soul Pumini has. What a beautiful character Prineshi has. එහෙම නෙමෙයිනේ බලන්නේ, right? You will check out her body. You will check out, okay, is she wearing nice dresses? Does she have all the nice stuff? And then you will approach her, right? We don't look into their soul and pick the people, right? So your clothes, the cover that you put out there matters a lot. So when you go out for your interviews, be very vigilant about the clothes that you pick. Do not wear bright colors. Do not wear like crazy psychotic things when you go out there into the work world, because before you find yourself a style signature, you have to first blend in when you first join the workforce, right? So your clothes will play a massive role, and that's also a completely different session. I mean, you can learn it on yourself, by yourself, but your clothes play a huge role in building your brand. All right. So I personally, I don't look at boys who wear ugly shoes. Mama Islam balana, I look at their shoes. Now Ashen was wearing a good pair of shoes when I first saw him. So that's how, things leveled up. But if they're wearing ugly shoes or slippers or, not properly kept, I don't even bother looking at their face. All right. I know it's mean, but that's how it is. All right. It's how people perceive us. So sometimes you have, not sometimes, most of the time when you are in the corporate world, put effort, put attention to the clothes that you wear, right? Don't wear iricha vests. Don't wear katugahapu bras, right? Don't wear falling off underpants. Don't wear the same sock maru and maruata, right? Don't wear, especially the boys, right? Sandutata andina underpant එක අඟහරුවාදට අනිත් අත හරවලා අඳින්න එපා. ගඳයි, right? It will show. All right? And don't forget to brush your teeth. Okay? Just life is very simple. It's just absolutely simple. Just wear good clothes, not expensive ones, but complete fitting clothes. All right.
And fresh clothes.
Fresh clothes, wash them, because we live in a tropical country, guys, right? We can afford to put it onto the Valor and wear it if you are working in a kumbura. But if you are working in an AC compartment, you can't wear the same shirt that you wore on Monday, right? So I know it's difficult because we sweat, but make sure that you have fresh clothes, nappy clothes, right? Just have a couple of, there is a concept called capsule collection. Ashan, you can drop it on the chat. Maybe you can explore a little bit there. You can create a capsule collection before you go into the workplace. Have some basic pieces and then work that out. And irunama mahanda button eka galawunama, don't put a safety pin there. Get your mother or somebody to stitch it, right? Do not wear with katugahala. It will show, and it will, it people who wants to notice you will notice that, right? So I'm not just that I'm saying because I'm coming from a fashion background, but it will matter. So your clothes, very simple, fresh, properly sewn, properly tailored, just wear that. And eventually you can find your style and you can, create a style personality. The second one, when it comes to cover, is cleanliness. Like I said before, we live in a tropical country. Please, I know that some people do not wear deodorant thinking that it is cancer causing and all of that. And some people don't shave, right? Please understand, this is a very sensitive topic. Your best friend can't tell you that your mouth stinks. Your girlfriend can't tell you, right? So these are very sensitive topics that you have to take into consideration by yourself. Be very clean, brush your teeth, and wear deodorant, wear a good perfume. You don't have to buy 30,000, 40,000 worth of perfumes. You can buy a good body spray, right? But be very careful. I know that some people do not have a wash in the morning, right? But I think it is a must in a warm country like ours. Otherwise, at night you sweat, guys, right? Throughout the night you sweat. And if you wake up in the morning and only wash your face and go to an AC compartment and stay there, stay there until 5 or 6, problem. Okay. So and also your nails, okay? Especially girls, do not go with chipped nails or chipped nail polish for an interview, right? If you can't maintain nail polish, don't wear nail polish. Have just nude nails. Same with boys. Harida. Ara majang allala me monada වාහනයක් හදලා වගේ නියපොතු ඇතුලේ කළු තියාගෙන එන්න එපා. අපිරියයි. අල්ලන්න තියා කිස් එකක් නෙමෙයි මූණක් බලන්න හිතෙන්නේ. Okay? So make sure that your hands are clean. Your feet are clean. Your shoes are clean. Yourself is clean. I mean, you නාන්න ඉඳලා හිටලා නාන්න. හරිද? සතියකට සැරයක් නෙමෙයි දෙතුන් පාරක් නාන්න. මුකුත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. right? තීනස හොඳ වෙනවා තිහ වෙනකොට. right? මැරෙන්නේ නැහැ. So be very careful about your cleanliness and please, especially underarms. Well, you must have experienced, no? අර බස් එකේ අත උස්සගෙන ගියාම කලන්තේ දානවා සමහර අයගේ කිහිල්ල යට ඉන්නකොට. Okay? Don't be that person. All right? Be the person that smells fresh. All right? Take that extra effort. If you're going somewhere in the evening after work, make sure you use a wet wipe under your underarms and wherever that is, and go clean. Okay? Very important. And the other thing, the last thing, is your association. Association with brands, association with certain types of clothes. Because sometimes, you see, I mean, if you wear the wrong pattern, that will also come out in a different way. And if you associate with the wrong brand, now here I want to talk about, you see, some brands we can't afford in our early 20s, right? Can you afford a Rolex at 22? You can't, right? You're going by bus, but you can afford a Rolex from PETA. Rolex but you know that it is not true. You know it is a duplicate, right? Why do you do that to yourself? One day when you can actually buy a genuine Rolex, do that then, right? Rolex candela, see a pitakotu morto pitakotu and aginokota, hondatama therenama eka boruak කියලා, right? So associate brands that you have a lifestyle to support with. I remember when I turned 21, my father said, okay, Mama, I think fashion school. What I thought was, okay, I'm going to get that Louis Vuitton wallet, Louis Vuitton handbag. Purse. And then I was like, I want that. Then my dad asked me, Puta, ඔයා ඒ රුපියල් 80000 බෑග් එක දාගෙන මොරටුව පිටකොටුව බස් එකේ යන්න වැඩක් තියනවාද? No point at all, right? Now I can carry a Louis Vuitton. I have a lifestyle to support that. But at 22, I didn't have, right? So be very vigilant about the brand association that you have, because our Rolex එක දාලා පද්දල ගිහිල්ලා මේ interview එකේ ඉඳගත්තම it's just, it becomes fake. You become a fake person. So don't do that. Be very careful about the brands that you associate, and also the styles and the cuts and all of that, because අර තියෙන hipsters වගේ කලිසම් ඇඳලා underpant එක පේන්න යන්නේ නැහැ නේ අපි නේද? ඒක එහෙමනම් if that is the lifestyle that you want, that's a different thing. But be very careful about these three things when you're crafting your cover. All right. Ashen, next one. And the other one is design your habits. And I think Ashen is a much better speaker on creating habits. He's a person who lost, I think, close to 40 kilos in a time span of 2 years. So he has more. I mean, he wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning and goes to the gym. I don't. Okay. So yeah, go ahead, Ashen.
Yes. So why we talk about habits is because not just going to a gym is a habit, but how you respond to a situation is also a habit. Now, why do people have anger management problems? Why do people have issues with their temper? Is because most of the reflexes are based on habits, right? So why we need to focus and why we need to nurture good habits is that habits also have, most of the small things that we do in life has a compound effect, right? It's okay to once in a while, I mean, sometimes my parents, we have this Candos outlet close by, so whenever they go out towards that place, they bring some good sweets, right? And these are very good sweets. Okay, usually I'm not a person who is fond of sweets, but whenever I get the chance with them, I don't push it away. I don't set it aside and be like, oh yeah, mama, sugar. I'm not that person. Whenever I have to eat an ice cream, I would eat an ice cream. But the thing is, you have to step back and realize what is the bigger habit. What is the bigger habit? Are you a frequent fan of sweets? Are you eating sweets all the time? Now that could have a compound effect on your health in the long run. But if you're a person who's restricting unwanted amounts of sugar, now that will also have a good compound effect in your life, right? So building good habits is not only related to health, but what do you tell yourself when you make a mistake? How do you respond when someone is gossiping with you? Are you a person and go to that conversation, right? How do you give feedback? Now what we have to realize is we have good habits that are adding value, compound value, and we have bad habits that are deteriorating our values, right? So gossiping is actually a habit. And if you can associate good healthy eating and daily small portions of working out and exercising, because if you come to a point where you have to maybe because right now, according to the statistics, by the time most of the citizens are 35, they are prone to heart related illnesses and many non-communicable diseases. Why? Because of compound bad habits, right? So what you have to understand is try to figure out what are the good habits that can add value to your everyday life, right?
Yeah, it's also not just weight loss related. It's also
Yes.
about, are you keeping a journal? Are you waking up in the morning? Because all habits have a ripple effect, guys. If you don't make your bed, that's going to have a very negative ripple effect on your life, right? Can I see a raise of hands of people who makes their bed in the morning? නැත්තම් නැගිටලා අර හපටයක් පිටින්ම එනවද එළියට? Huh? Good. All the girls, I think Shakti, but Sahan is smiling, which means he's not doing it, is it? You have to make your bed. That's the starting step for good habits. Okay. You see, once you start doing it, but start doing it. That way, you will find much more clarity with the rest of your habits. Okay.
And
From a
it's
younger
not just
age.
and it's
Yeah.
not just the fact that you are developing a good habit, but you are creating a pattern in your brain to say that you are a person who gets something done some way or the other, right?
That's
And
true.
that creates a mentality of commitment. A commitment mentality is very important, because let's say you are at a party and people are drinking and people are getting properly drunk. If you have a commitment to your discipline, you will not be the person, you are not going to be that person who will pass out. Why? Because you have a commitment to your value system. Now, how that came through you is because you have created this mentality of being a person who sticks to a habit. So consequently, it puts you in a place where you are sticking to your commitment, right? So try to design the good values or the good habits that will add value, from the making of your bed in the morning to journaling in the evening before you go to sleep. So these things are, you can get enough and more help from very good authors, where you will understand. For instance, Ludi, do you want to recommend some books
For the speech or for the habits?
for habits?
So there's a
You can start with Atomic Habits, right?
yeah, I think Atomic Habits is better than the habit. The other book.
Habit.
Yeah, The Power of Habit. It's more technical.
Yes.
So Atomic Habits. So just give yourself some time to understand what kind of habits. Because I remember when I was in grade 6, somebody gave this quote that said, "Be the master of your habits, or they will master you." Okay, so whether it is bad habits or good habits, they are the master of you. So you have to master them. Otherwise, they will manipulate you and master your life. All right. This is what happens when it comes to addiction. So be very careful and give some time for your habit management, right? So we are slowly closing our time. So because of that, I will go to the next slide and share with you one of the biggest elements of crafting your brand is the way you communicate with the rest of the people, right? And I think as road tractors, as university students, you're being influenced to join some kind of program to expand your speaking skills, right? Ashen and I met at Toastmasters, right? It is a platform where people learn how to speak effectively. Remember, in any profession, speaking effectively will take you ahead, right? It will definitely give a big boost to your success. So please make sure, because we are predominantly Sinhala or Tamil speaking community. So for us, English language is the second language, and it is a challenge in itself. So remember, because we are a tiny country, we need to have this second language as a tool. And for us to develop that, it is your own duty to develop it, right? You can go to a class, you can do all of that, but practicing and developing and sharpening that tool is your task. So do that. It will definitely benefit you in the future. And also, when it comes to speaking, guys, I see many people, just because you have a platform doesn't mean you fight for every single thing, right? Choose your battles, especially on social media. If you are a very politically opinionated person, that's fine. Now, in my network, there was a gentleman who is extremely politically opinionated, and everybody has blocked him. Okay? Don't be that person, right? Pick your battles and pick the things that you want to discuss in the public, right? You don't offend people intentionally. That's a very bad way to go, because we are just one world, okay? There's so much diversity. Our children might end up being, boys who wants to dress up like girls. We have to open up our minds for that. We live in an extremely fast-paced, diverse world. So when we put something out there, be very careful not to offend people. It's not nice, right? So pick your battles and only share things that will build your brand. Be very careful with your social media platforms. I see so many people going to town, talking about people, blaming people, shouting at people, all keyboard warriors, right? Even when it comes to bal ara sattunta hani karane, all keyboard warriors. They don't go and sit with the dog and feed the dog, right? Be action oriented. Don't be opinion oriented, especially on social media. And like I said, join some platforms where your speaking skills will be elevated, will be improved in the future, because that is one of the biggest and the most powerful tools that you can have in order to become successful in the corporate world. Not just corporate, guys, even in personal life, right? I mean, when you're an effective speaker, you can get anything from your husband and you can get anything done from your wife, right? So, or girlfriend or boyfriend or friends, you know how to properly pitch your idea. Okay. So, like we said, you are the future of Sri Lanka, you are the future of this economy. And because of that, you need to have the power of speech so that you can influence the younger generation and make sure that we go from heights to heights, right? And we want to finish this session. This is one of my favorite songs that Ashen introduced to me, a very old singular song, which basically talks about a good personal brand, right? It is called Piumehi Pani Boti Vana Bambaro. Ashen, if you can, you share the link on the chat with the two people singing. Listen to it before you go to bed, because it says, I mean, Manada, Kusagini hadunata indul nokau, Tanakola nubuditi singha patau, right? It talks about such great personal characteristics for anybody. So people who understand Sinhala, just go and watch this song and keep it in your mind. This and Hinavalati Idak and Havala Nasa Gamana, all three Sinhala songs, very impactful to stay on course and to become a powerful brand in your ecosystem, right? So, you may paniboti vanabambro when okay.
So thank
Ashen,
you.
yes.
Yeah. So I will share the link to that song in a while. So this is the end of our presentation. This is what we wanted to share with you, children, because when we constructed this particular session, we wanted to make sure that we give you all some actionable tools, some things that you can start doing now itself. And we don't want you to, start with everything. I mean, we don't want you to do everything, but try your level best to at least implement one action, right? If you think that you always blame yourself when you make a mistake, put aside all we taught you. Start embracing your mistakes, because if you don't embrace, who will? If you're a person who is spending so much of time trying to gossip, trying to figure out what is going on in other people's life, try to step back from that addiction, because if it doesn't add value, there's no point in associating, because we all have a limited amount of time, and your time could be tomorrow, my time could be tonight, we never know. So whatever the time you have, try to spend it with the value system that you associate. So with that message, I want to hand over the session back to Primeshi. Primeshi, over to you.
Thank you for sharing your valuable ideas with us. I would like to invite you all to fill out the feedback form that is now shared on the chat. Within the past hour, our participants have been sending questions after one another. As the time restricts, we will be only answering few selected questions that has been asked the most. Sir and ma'am, so this is the first question. With sympathy and empathy, can we make a personal brand?
Yeah, you absolutely can. You absolutely can. I think, this is something that we lack in our communities. I mean, sympathy and empathy. I recently saw a video where a man was hugging a guy who has knocked his daughter in a car accident. The father goes and hugs the guy who actually, knocked down his daughter, and, consoling him, right? This is the kind of sympathy and empathy that we want, right? Nobody will intentionally kill somebody. Nobody will, I mean, unless you are a murderer. But I think this is a very good set of values. I mean, I've always heard that in corporate arena, you have to be, you have to be like a hyena, you have to fight, you have to compete. I mean, I think kindness, empathy, and sympathy will play a bigger role, will play a much more sustainable, will create a much more sustainable personality characteristics in you than competition and, competition and battle. Isn't it, Ashin?
Yes, because it's like this, you have to have a healthy competition for you to thrive in life. I mean, in whatever, because competition is giving you a challenge, and it's helping you to grow forward, right? No grow backwards, because people tend to grow backwards as well. If they live in with their insecurities, they are going to live backwards. And I think, as far as I have realized, competition is like a arapi polowe gahana gini godak wage. But empathy and sympathy is like the polowe, right? It is much bigger. It has much more bigger. It has a bigger purpose. So empathy and the sympathy are actually superpowers nowadays.
Are superpowers. So I mean,
Yes,
if you really want to, I mean, I think you guys should be the new generation where there is more empathy in the workplace and more sympathy rather than backstabbing. And that parampara will eventually die down. But
that is
you
why
guys should.
we have ended up with a very bad political stance, because there is no empathy. And whatever the empathy is staged, right? Whatever the empathy is that is displayed is staged, because it has become a marketing gimmick.
Yes.
කෙනෙක්ට දැන් අපි ගත්තොත් කෙනෙක්ට කෑමක් දීලා ෆොටෝ එකක් ගන්නවා කියන එක, it's a form of showing empathy, but still it's a marketing gimmick. It's to get more followers. But try to be, whether you empathize or you're trying to market yourself.
Yes.
What's the next question, Primeshi?
So this is the second question, sir. How can we communicate our personal brand?
So very easy. You're communicating it right now, right? You're communicating. I mean, Shakti Senaratna is communicating his personal brand. Sahan Pratibha is communicating his personal brand. Piyumini Talvadane is communicating her personal brand. You communicate it every day. I think only when you sleep, you don't communicate. What you put out there, what you share, how you treat people, right? Everything. I mean, it's all about you putting yourself out there. But if you want to communicate it more effectively, that's where these kind of techniques come in handy. I mean, if you want to show the world about the kinds of values that you have, then start sharing things that are aligning with your values and philosophy, right? I mean, if you believe in taking care of your parents when they're old, then go ahead and share things that has more more messages towards that area, right? And if you believe in animal welfare, then share those kinds of things, right? Create a brand wherever you go, right?
And at the same time, try to find, if you can recall that the mastermind group, try to find a set of like-minded people who are in line with your brand. I mean, if you are now, the both of us, we are public speakers, and we come from the Toastmasters fraternity, and we find people who add value to us, and we can practice our values. So if you are a person who is supporting the like it was said, the welfare of animals, then try to blend into a group of people who represents that, right? Then you get room to grow in that domain. So if you want to show your personal brand, because if you surround yourself with a set of people who are in the same wavelength, you can perform under that environment, right?
Yes.
Let's say if you're an ice skater, can you perform in Sri Lanka? Not really, because we don't have the environment for that. But if you're a cricketer, can we nurture your skill? Absolutely can, because you have the environment for that. So you try to find where you belong, right? You try to find where you belong, where your brand belongs, and then go there.
Yeah.
You can
And
research
maybe you can do like an experiment where you create a new Instagram page and you
Yeah.
start understanding. Do that experiment. Ask
One of my
yourself,
students, yes,
Yes.
very good point. One of my students are there from the University of Colombo, Janit. He's a person who speaks about the subconscious mind. I mean, even mostly he sends me messages and he sends me voice recordings. I listen to most of them. I hardly have time to respond extensively, but I learned something from Janit. Which is his course, his discipline is about the subconscious mind and the thought philosophy. He has created a Facebook page and he continues to update and upgrade that page. And what happens is he's upgrading himself. All the while he's informing his environment, his ecosystem, he's also upgrading himself in that particular discipline of thought provoking.
So yeah, I mean, if you want to be seen as someone who reads, who's interested in certain subjects, maybe create an Instagram page and do that. I mean, as a hobby, I do sewing, right? And I have a separate Instagram page where I post everything that I make. I don't put it on my main page, but I have a separate page because that is, that's me testing the ground. So you can do that. I mean, it's free for you. So go ahead and communicate this new brand that you want to create, make it a private profile, and, start crafting it tonight itself.
Primeshi, what's
Thank
the
you,
other
ma'am.
question?
So this is the last question, and this is a bit connected to the answer you gave for the second question. How has social media benefited to our personal brand?
It has absolutely benefited. We can
It's
be
an inventory.
noticed. Yeah.
Yes, it's an inventory. It's a platform as well as an inventory about who you are, because nowadays as much as it's legally confined to request for a Gram Sevaka certificate, most HR recruitments happen as a result of a good social media presence. If you are well dressed, if you are nicely well spoken and nicely presented, but if you have pictures of drunk nights and messed up evenings, that might add as much as it can. As much as your presentation adds many plus points, that single or two or three bad images can add a big negative or a minus point, right? So what you have to understand is our social media presence is our brand development, right?
Yeah. And it's not a bad thing or a good thing. It could be bad and good both, but it's how you manage it. It is a wonderful tool. Social media is a wonderful tool today. If you believe in something, if you want to develop, if you have a hobby, and if one of these boys wants to sing, it's a place that you can have a great inventory, and it is your online portfolio, right? It is a very powerful tool, but just like any tool, just like any weapon, it could protect you or it could cut you into pieces.
Backfire, yeah.
So be smart when you use it. Yeah.
Okay, Primeshi. Any other question?
No, sir, that's it. So now we have come to the end of today's session. I believe this webinar was very valuable to each and every one of our enthusiastic participants, including myself. So, sir and ma'am, I think we have found the best personalities to educate us on this matter. On behalf of everyone, I would like to pay my sincere gratitude to both of you for your presence despite of your busy schedules. And also, I would like to thank the Career Guidance Unit of University of Peradeniya for the immense support. And I would like to appreciate the contribution of our bronze partner, SLIC, educational partner, SLIM, and our inspirational partner, Silex Engineering Private Limited. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the participants who were there with us today. So that concludes our webinar session, and I would like to wish our enrolled participants all the best with the future tasks. Stay safe, everyone. Have a good night. And thank you again, sir and ma'am.
Yes, Preposition. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Wishing you all the best for a wonderful future. Take care and stay safe.